everyone, and welcome to Fully Book Fest 2020. In celebration of National Reading Month, we are holding a series of fun events and sales for bookworms of all kinds for the month of November. This afternoon, adults and kids are welcome to join the Tidying Seminar based on the famous tidying method by the best-selling author and tidying consultant, Marie Kondo, led by the first certified KonMari Consultant in the Philippines, Christine Dychiao. Christine Dychiao is the first certified KonMari Consultant in the Philippines. She attended the KonMari Consultant Seminar in New York in 2017 and was certified in 2018. She has spent hundreds of hours working with clients in tidying their homes and has taught the method to over 1,000 people since. She also serves as a resource person for workshops and the media on the topic of tidying and decluttering. Her own journey began when she first discovered Marie Kondo and her book, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up in 2014. Overwhelmed with the stuff she had accumulated over years of mindless consumption and feeling its toll on her well-being, she immediately put the KonMari principles to practice and felt an immediate lightness in mood and clarity of mind. She has since used her own experiences and learnings to support others in their decluttering. Here to introduce us how to defeat clutter and discover what sparks joy. Let's all welcome Christine.
Thank you for joining me today. I hope you and your kids have set aside some time to learn how we can declutter our homes. And yes, anyone can do it. Let's begin. Yes, we can. So I'm a mom. As mentioned earlier, I started tidying in 2014, and that was about the time that I was pregnant with my youngest. And you know how it is with young kids, right? It's impossible to have a tidy home. But I learned that you can tidy, we can tidy. I mean, it's not going to be tidy 100% of the time, but we know how to deal with the clutter. So we don't have to have a very cluttered home, even with young kids. I know this looks familiar, and I want to assure you that after this session, you will know how to deal with this and this. So that's correct. I started the KonMari journey in 2014. I got certified in 2017. And these three little kids were really my inspiration to tidy, because I knew that I had to keep a tidy home for them and their dad, and also for my own sanity. So this is my own pantry, and it's not from Pinterest. I'm proud to say it's mine, all mine. And yeah, I think that, you know, there was a time when food would spoil on me. I would have expired stuff in the pantry. I wouldn't know where to find things. I'd keep on buying bowls because I always thought we needed bowls. And it was all a result of, you know, having a cluttered home. So I realized that after KonMari, I can maintain this. So it still looks this way. Of course, sometimes, you know, the contents of the pantry, you know, changes, but pretty much I know where everything is. I know what food is expiring soon. So there's this sense of control now. And even my kids, they know how to tidy. So of course, it's not 100% of the time, but sometimes they surprise me and they tell me, look, mom, I'm KonMariing my toys. So it's something that, you know, once we bring into the home, it becomes a practice. And I assure you, your kids can tidy. Don't underestimate your kids. We can do it. The whole family can do it, no matter how young your kids are. And yes, today I will be discussing how we can declutter with our kids. And this is through the KonMari method. I assure you that, you know, as young as they can, you know, 3 years old, they can know what spark joy is for them. And they will be able to tidy on their own with our guidance. So let's begin. What are the 6 basic rules of tidying? I'll go through each rule and explain to you why this rule works. If you practice all 6 rules, you will be able to tidy successfully. So the first is you have to believe that tidying is a celebration. Many people think it's a chore. They feel that it's a waste of time, sayang on weekend if we just spend it tidying. But you have to put it in your head that it's a celebration because you're liberating yourself from a life of clutter. And you have to commit yourself to tidying up at least 3 hours per category. So if you think about it, it's not the whole weekend. Just give yourself 3 hours for like your clothes or your book. So it's just a category. Rule number 2, you have to envision your ideal life. And start with your own things. Don't tell the whole household you have to do it all together, all at the same time. Just begin with your own stuff. And that matters. That really helps you kickstart the process. It doesn't have to be the entire household, just your own things. So in this example, the mom, she was the one who started tidying, said, I want to clear my desk of clutter because I can't work. I can't feel productive. I thought I was going to be productive, having everything I needed close to me, but no, it was stressing her out. And so she decided, okay, my vanity will become my work table. And I asked her, okay, what do you experience? How do you feel when you use this space? In your vision board, how does it look like after you've tidied? And she said, okay, it's clutter-free. I have my favorite oils. I have my diffuser. There's music. So it was very vivid. And because it was clear in her head what she wanted, in 2 hours, she got it. So just 2 hours, imagine. She was able to clear this space. And that was because she was committed to tidying. Of course, behind her was her closet. And she had to make room in her closet for her oiling supplies. So the things surrounding her table earlier were her oiling supplies because she's a clinical aromatherapist, certified clinical aromatherapist. And so she worked with oils and it was important to her. Those were the things that sparked joy for her. And so she made room for these things in her closet by taking out shopping bags, empty boxes, stuff she thought she would need one day or use one day, but really didn't use. So she took those out and found room for her oiling supplies. So earlier you saw this picture. Again, this is a mom's work list. This is very common. Our kids would dump things on our table. It becomes the junk table. Things they don't know where to put, they'll say, I'll put it on mom's table. Bahala na si mommy. And she said, my vision is I want to be able to work here. I cannot work like this. The thing is the kids would dump everything. And so, of course, she wouldn't feel, maengganyo to work because how can you work in a space like this? And she said, that's just my goal. Clean, clutter-free, I can work on this space. Also in less than 3 hours. Also just about maybe 2.5. Of course, she had to go through each and everything on that table. You have to decide what to do with it right there and then. They say that clutter is delayed decisions. So for each item that she had on that table, she had to decide, do I throw? Do I store somewhere? Do I ask the kids where they want to keep it? So they really made a decision on what to do with these things. And they had to have a home for everything so that next time the kids won't dump their things on their mom's table. Rule number 3, begin by discarding. You really have to let go. It's not possible that you just hide things under the bed, store it in a separate cabinet, put it in the garage, or, put it in another room. That's just moving around clutter. You're not really letting go. So you have to say goodbye and say thank you to these things and really get them out of the house. That's the rule. Rule number 4, tidy by category, not by location. As much as possible, completely in one go, do it that same day. Don't leave it for another day. If you're gonna do clothes, then finish it to the last piece. Why do we tidy by category? This is because many of us were taught to tidy by room, diba? When we were growing up, our parents would say, clean your room, or let's clean the kitchen today. It's always by area. But the best really is by category, because you are focusing on one category at a time. So your focus is really zoomed in on one, category, just clothes, just books, just papers. You're not distracted by other things. And actually, by pulling all of these things together, like what I did, you don't just pull it out from the closet one by one. You have to gather everything, have a landing area, maybe your bed or on the floor. Put all the clothes there, even if you're keeping stuff in the other room, if it's in another closet, get everything you own in one pile. I think it's because seeing how much you own will shock you into realizing, oh my God, I have so many clothes, I have so many books. And it will make you not want to get into this situation again. I've had a client who said, that used to be all money. Oh my God, all these things piled on my bed used to be cash and I just spent it on this. So you get realizations like that. So it's really crucial that you tidy by category and gather everything in one spot. So you see it, you're shocked by what you have spent your money on. So you just keep, return everything in the closet. Whatever sparks joy na lang. Don't put things that are, one day maybe. So everything that goes back into the closet are things you've decided to keep because they spark joy for you. It used to be that my closet was a scary place. I was afraid that if I open it, things would fall on me. And it was so hard to really find space for things. And now I have even this empty space. So know that when you tidy, you really free up not just the physical space, but also within you, there's a feeling of lightness. It really is so life-changing. So the same with books. The next category is books. Pull everything out from the bookcase. Don't choose books from the bookcase, like looking at it like in the library and deciding, okay, this book I will save in tidy. You have to pull everything out. The physical exercise of pulling the books out, it also will make you not want to return everything, I think. The process is really crucial to the experience. Gather everything and then just return what sparks joy for you. So what goes into the bookcase are books you really love, not books that, you're just keeping for the heck of it. So you really have to go through each book. It's important that you really touch the book and, think, okay, what does this spark joy? It's really about the feeling that will I read it one day? Or maybe one day I'll read it. It's really about keeping things because it means something to you. So it's really important that you go through each and every book. Paper. So look at this example. Everyone in the family has to deal with their own paper. Kids will look at their own papers. You cannot throw somebody else's paper because it's important to them. You don't know what they might need it. So you can't just throw things away or say, oh, this is done now. Because what if they need that document? So have every family member deal with their own paper. In this example, I think she's a grade 4 kid and she had to go through her own papers. Her mom said, it's up to you. You know which papers you need to keep and what not to keep. Anyway, if the teacher says, oh, you still need that, you can tell them, oh, it was my fault. I told her to get rid of the paper. But at the end of the day, each person in the family has to deal with their own paper. That's basically it. Don't throw other people's papers. You can put them into 3 piles. I know paper is a difficult category because sometimes it's just so overwhelming to see so many files. You can categorize into immediates or pending, you need to deal with it immediately, a check that needs to be signed, a bill that needs to be paid, or things that you need to keep for a limited period like warranties, or things that tax receipts, tax filings, anything that you need to keep for a certain period. And then things that you need to keep indefinitely. So land titles, art certificates, passports, birth certificates, anything that is of crucial value to you, please keep them in a separate pile so that you know also where to look for them. Some people, they decide, okay, a pile that I have to keep and a pile that I want to keep. And then the want to keep, you can decide later on, what do you do with them? Do I really keep them? Or so it's really up to you what works for you, but you really just have to categorize into 3 subcategories so it's easy for you to deal with paper. Next. Kimono. This is the 4th category. It's Japanese for miscellaneous. And it's anything that's not related to clothes, books, and paper. So these are toys, hobby equipment, sporting equipment, your makeup, toiletries, anything in your toilet, kitchen stuff, food. So that's anything that is not part of clothes, books, and papers. And in this example, the mom was really the client, but when the son saw his mom tidy, he said, I want to do it too. And so we first worked on his clothes, of course, and then his books, and then his paper, and then we got to his toys. His toys were spilling out from the front door to the couch, and the mom said, oh my God, he's a hoarder. But you know what? When he saw his mom tidy, he was actually inspired, and he was so good at tidying his toys. He was going through each and every toy and saying thank you to the toys that he said he didn't want to keep anymore. And he was also the one deciding, you can give this to my cousins, to my yaya's kids, you can, throw this away, donate, ganyan. So he was very good. And so even if his mom thought he was a hoarder, actually when he was empowered to tidy, he really owned the experience and he was so good at it. So please do not underestimate your kids. They are so good at it because they have no baggage. It's so easy for them to go and, choose. Sometimes I have another story. The dad didn't want his son to give away this very nice toy because for the dad, it was expensive and stuff like that. But for the kid, he had no attachment to it. He was happy to let it go. So don't underestimate your kids. They are very good at tidying if you give them the chance to tidy. So in this example, we were able to limit his toys to just 2 bookcases. May space pa nga here. So there was an empty slot here. And what remains here, actually at the top part, are the stuffed toys. And they were sentimental for the mom. So these are the last category, sentimental items, because they are the hardest to let go of. And it was funny because the mom was the one saying, oh, this was yours when you were 2 months old. This was from your Lola. So it's really us adults sometimes who are really attached to things. So it's really important to go through this process with our kids. And it's okay. It's okay to keep sentimental items. But just remember, if you're going to keep sentimental items, it has to be because they have good memories attached to them. Because, sentimental items are triggers. They bring about memories, emotions, feelings. So they really are hard to let go of. And that's why there's rule number 5. Follow the right order. So to recap, you start with your clothes, and then your books, and then paper, miscellaneous or kimono, and lastly, sentimental. Like I said, it's okay to keep sentimental as long as they are, items that bring good memories. It makes you feel good to see them. Don't keep something out of guilt or out of fear because you're afraid they might find out that you gave away something, or you feel guilty because it used to be, your Lola's. If it doesn't feel right for you, maybe you can give it to another cousin, an aunt, or whoever in the family. I think what's important is it will be enjoyed and appreciated by its new owner. Because if you're not using it, you're just keeping it for the heck of it, then you're depriving yourself of the space, and you're also depriving someone of the joy of having that item. So always remember, when tidying sentimental items, leave them for last. Many of us, when we tidy, our first instinct is, oh, there's a box of letters or a box of, photos. You go through each of the items, and then the next thing you know, you're reminiscing instead of tidying. So always leave your sentimental items for last. And next, the final rule, the most important, the one everybody knows, you ask yourself, does it spark joy? And what is spark joy? I know it's so difficult to explain sometimes, and here's why. I think these are the three things you should keep. Things that directly spark joy, meaning when you touch it, oh, I love it. I can't live without this ball pen. It's my favorite. I bought this in my last trip. Whatever it is, as long as when you see it, it makes you happy. Then of course that's that's a spark joy item. That sparks joy for you. And then things that provide functional joy. So maybe clean underwear, a TV that works, an aircon that works. Things that are not exactly, wow, I love it, but it makes life easier for you. Even a stapler, it doesn't have to be spark joy, but you know that, when you staple a sheet of paper, it works and it makes your job faster, easier, whatever. So these are things that provide functional joy. So it doesn't always have to be, wow, I love it, but it serves you. It has a purpose in your life. And if it, gets lost, you would need to buy it again. So that's functional joy. And then of course, there are things that lead to future joy. And I have to say, it has to be immediate future, not 5 years or 10 years down the road. So it can be a book you've always planned to read. So keep it because you know you're gonna read it. Or it can be an instrument that you've always wanted to play. You bought it maybe 2 months ago and you just haven't gotten around to using it or learning how to use it. But it has to be immediate future, not in the far future. Remember, this method is life transforming. It will change your life, your perspective, how you buy, how you consume, how you make decisions, how you view your life. You would want your life to be spark joy all the time. And you will never revert to clutter because you know how to deal with the clutter. You know that when something piles up on your table, you can take care of it in 30 minutes. You know that it won't be like that for the next 2 months or 2 years. You know that when you sit down, you know how to put things back to the state you've always wanted, into a clean and calm and clutter-free state. So it's really because you've acquired the technique and the mindset of being tidy, so you know how to have a clutter-free life. And remember, clutter has a cost. It's not just, taking up space in your house. It's costing you time because sometimes you're looking for lost things, a lost toy, your lipstick, the car keys. You're always, using that time that you could be spending working, being productive, or spending it with your loved ones. But instead, you're looking for things or you can't concentrate, you can't enjoy their company because the house looks so cluttered. Next, it's costing you money because sometimes you buy something you already have, but because you can't find it, you end up going out. So it's costing you, time and money looking for, something. So sometimes it's a bill you forgot to pay because it was buried under a pile of documents and you have to pay late fees or penalties. Sometimes it's actual money. I've had chances where, I decluttered and I saw demonetized money. I even had a check for my son for $200 that I forgot to deposit. It was from his ninang. And I really, had to pay my own son because it was my mistake. And I didn't want to ask his ninang to issue another check because it was 2 years late. So it's costing us. Sometimes you'll find GCs. Sometimes you'll find jewelry. It's really valuable things that we forget we had, but because they were buried in clutter, we weren't able to enjoy them or use them. So it's costing us. Of course, it's also costing us our health, our mental well-being. There's a study by the UCLA Center for Everyday Lives of Families. It came out in 2009. And they discovered that the more clutter there is in a home, the higher the number of items in a home, the higher the stress or cortisol levels in the mom's brain. And so there is a direct link between stress and clutter. And they also found out, because they were measuring the cortisol levels, that as the evening progressed in cluttered homes, there's a higher mood of depression towards the evening. So it really affects us, not just physically, but mentally as well, and emotionally as well. So you have to realize that clutter affects us, affects our health, affects our mental well-being, and also our productivity. There's a study by Princeton where they discovered that, people who live in a cluttered space or work in a cluttered space are less productive than those who work in a clutter-free environment. And finally, you are depriving yourself of the space that you could be using for your work from home space, your study area, or if you've always wanted a reading nook or a workout space, but that space or that room is occupied by clutter, you are depriving yourself of the joys of having a productive space. Sometimes people think, oh, it's because my house is too small. I think I need to knock down walls. I need to expand the area. But you're not really maybe looking at your space rationally. Sometimes we are so preoccupied and used to living with clutter that we think that belongs in the house. But I've spoken to a lot of interior decorators, and they would say this is so common. People think they need to renovate, they need to, expand the space. But in reality, if they just took out the clutter in their home, they would have saved so much money just keeping that space as it is and just taking out the clutter from that room. So remember these things. Clutter has a cost, and you could save a lot of time, a lot of money, and your own personal well-being by just taking out the clutter in your home. Next. Remember, why are we so, attached to our clutter? Many of us, I want to explain this. I want to explain the psychology of clutter because this will, make us realize why we should, let go of these things. First is you're attached to the past and its perceived value. You buy something 10 years ago and you think it costs the same. If you try to sell that item now, you won't get the same amount for it. So when you're looking at something, look at it objectively and think, how much will I be able to sell this for? Sometimes you won't even get anything anymore because like an iPhone 5, I don't know how much you can get for that. But don't be attached to the value that you paid for years ago. So that's perceived value. You always just think that this is the value, but for other people, it's not the same. It's probably worthless. Remember, another man's trash is another man's treasure. Maybe it's a treasure to you, but for another person, it's trash. Next, you're attached because of sentimental reasons. Because, you feel that you were a dancer before, then you should keep all your dancing paraphernalia. I've had a client where she had an entire cabinet in her condo that was all dedicated to her dancing stuff. And she realized I needed a space, but she couldn't let go immediately. And so I asked her, are you gonna dance again? Is there a chance that you will teach dancing? Or, is it gonna be a part of your life? And she realized, you know what? This is a past chapter. It's done. I'm now a mom. I have a new career. This is the last thing that I'm gonna do. And in the end, she ended up giving away all her toe shoes, her jazz shoes, all her, dancing clothes to a foundation that teaches ballet to street children. And so it felt good for her that it went to a foundation that would make use of her stuff, and the kids would really appreciate her things. And in the end, she just kept one jacket. And so she freed up her space, and she realized that, you know what, this used to be part of my life, but I'm now moving on to a different career, a new chapter in my life, and she was happy to let go of that part. So even if it's happy memories, sometimes you have to also realize, is it something that serves me now? Because if it doesn't serve you anymore, then have the confidence to let go of these things. Next, we are afraid of the future. And so when you see a sale sign, you think, I have to take opportunity of this sale. Now it's okay to buy something on sale. I would also recommend buying something on sale if you're gonna really use it. It's a great opportunity to get something you've always wanted at a discount. That's fine. But if you're buying something because it's on sale and that's just the reason, you think it's such a good deal, but you don't really need it, then you have to ask yourself, is it really something that I would spend on if it were full price? Now, if you were gonna spend on it full price anyway, then by all means take advantage of the sale. But if you're just buying because it's too cheap or it's so cheap, then you have to stop yourself and really think about it. Sales are good if you are really willing to pay for it at full price. Next, one day I will use it. You always think, I'm gonna keep it because one day I might use it. Now you have to realize, when is that one day? One day is usually never. I've had stationery I've kept for 10 years. Gift wrappers I've kept for 4 years. And at the end of the day, even if I keep them, if I'm not gonna use them, it's not worth keeping. So just donate it to someone who will really use it, or make sure that that one day will really happen. Otherwise, you are just depriving yourself of the space and depriving someone else of the joy of enjoying these things. So if you're gonna keep something, don't think of the one day, think of the feeling. And finally, you don't return things where they should belong. And so clutter happens. You don't have a home for everything. You have to understand that in storage, the goal really is to have a home for everything in our home. So they all have their own space that they go back to. So you know where to look for them and you know where to return them. Now, let's go to folding methods. I'm gonna ask my son to show us how to fold clothes. Come, Pepper. Okay. So I want to show you that kids can fold their own clothes. Pepper, can you show them how to fold your jeans? So this is how Pepper does it. He smooths it out, folds it in half. Okay, show them first, show them. So you fold the jeans in half, and then what do you do next? Fold it again, yes, smooth it. Yes, very good. And fold it, yes, and then make it stand. See, kids can do it. Okay, show them how to fold your t-shirt. So this is Pepper's shirt. He's gonna show us how he folds his shirt. So you fold it into the center, that's correct. More pa. And then he smooths it, the other side. Okay. Fold it again, yes. So remember to leave a bit of space here at the bottom. That's part of the folding technique so that it will stand. Okay, and then fold again. The other way. There. Ah, there. So kids can tidy and they can also fold as long as you teach them how to do it. So this is how I fold our shirts. So even the kids' shirts are folded this way. This is because when you fold this way, when you pull something out, it doesn't disturb the other items on your cabinet or your drawer. We used to always, stack our clothes like this. But when you stack your clothes like this, if you pull something here, usually this, especially if it's a, a high pile, it will topple over. But folding your clothes this way and putting them in a drawer this way, so it's filed and standing on its own, it's easier and so much neater, and you don't have to worry about, things falling to the back of the closet, losing your shirts, and you can't find them when you need them. So like what Pepper did, pants are best folded. We used to hang our pants, but they would take up so much space. So it used to be that, this 14 pairs of jeans would take up this much space in a closet. But when we started folding them, it was just a tiny corner in the cabinet. So this is really a great way to save on space, especially if you have limited closet space. Don't worry about the wrinkles. Jeans are very, hardy materials. Eventually, as you wear them, the creases and the folds will kind of melt away. And it's not really about the number of folds that causes the creases. It's really the pressure. So if you pack clothes too tight, your clothes will really get wrinkled. But if they are loose enough and they can breathe, they're not going to get wrinkled. So previous to, the pandemic, you could travel and it was so easy to pack clothes because you just pull them out and you put them in the suitcase and you're done. And because you know where everything is, it's so easy to pack. So one day, this practice will serve us well when it's safe to travel again. Now let's talk storage. Remember, when storing things, you always have to have a home for everything. So always store the same items in one spot. If it's tools, then tools in one area. As much as possible, you see everything at a glance. Not everyone can do this because the one who sent me this photo is hobby carpenter, and he really enjoyed this, and he really had a home for each tool. This is an extreme example, but this is a beautiful example because ideally, this is the best way. And he would tell me, I know when my kids or when my wife does not return something because that space is empty. So this is a beautiful example because he really assigned a home for each tool that he owned. This is the gold standard. But, feel free to use what you have. You don't have to do the same, but this is just a good example. Make use of vertical spaces. You always feel that, I don't have space, but are you forgetting that your walls can actually be a beautiful storage space? Hanging shelves are a cheap and budget-friendly way to make use of your walls. You can use whatever, like wooden pallets or whatever. I mean, you can be as creative as you want to be, or you can spend for it. It's really up to you, but don't forget that you can make use of your walls as storage spaces. Even with files, store your files upright. Don't put them on a pile. Do not pile your files. Always have them stored upright or in a filing cabinet. When you stack them like this, it's a recipe for disaster. You're gonna lose things. It's gonna be so hard to look for them. But if you file it, it's so much easier to find your documents. Another tip, store by material. If you're always looking for your cords, your chargers, you don't have a home for these things, you just put it wherever you feel like it. Chances are you're gonna lose them. You don't know where to find them. You're gonna go out and buy another one, another set, or you're gonna order online. And the thing is, you're wasting time and you're wasting your money. And the secret really is just having a home for each, for all these things. So have a home for all your chargers, all your cords, all your wires. Maybe assign a drawer for it. You can use little boxes to compartmentalize. The secret really is all your electrical stuff together, put them in one corner so you know where to find them. When living with other people, define storage spaces. So if your kids are sharing closet space with another sibling, give them a space that they can be responsible for. If you assign a space for them, the chances of them maintaining it will be higher because one, they know it's theirs. Second, it's not going to be mixed up with another sibling's messy clothes. So they will be more enticed and you know, encouraged to maintain their own space and take care of it because they're responsible for their own space and they don't have to worry about somebody else's mess. I also suggest hanging clothes from longest to shortest, from left to right. So this is the same closet, except that, you know, when we tidied it and we hung the clothes longest to shortest, it just looks so much neater. It looks easier on the eyes, and you open up a space where you can really, you know, maybe put a little bin or a basket so that your things will be tidy. Next. If you don't have drawers, feel free to use bins or baskets like this. You can also use empty boxes. So be creative. These are just good ways to store your stuff because when you have limited drawer space, having these compartmentalized, you can stack them, you can stack the boxes. And it's just easier because you can find everything at a glance and you can fold it the KonMari way. For little tiny objects like, you know, school supplies and office supplies, think bento. You don't have to buy, you know, compartmentalized plastic bins or bamboo bins. If you have those little takeout containers, those work because they're very slim and they slid into, you can slide into your pull-out drawers under your table nicely because they're just, you know, the right size for it. This is a great way to compartmentalize so you know how much you have of a certain thing. You don't keep on buying ball pens or paper clips or bull clips. You know what you have. So when you open your drawer, you see, you know, oh, I still have a lot of the highlighters and stuff like that. It's also nicer and, you know, cleaner on the eyes when you do it this way. You can do the same for your kitchen items. So your spices, your little kitchen utensils, and even for the kids' toys. Also works for makeup. When storing linens, you can store by material, or you can store by, you know, all the tablecloths together, all the napkins together. But if it works for you where, you know, all the matching sets are together, that works too. At the end of the day, do what works for you, what makes sense for you. It also helps to fold to stack, like with your clothes. Remember, decluttering is not just about decluttering our physical space. It also clears out the mental clutter in our head as well. When it comes to our work, we're more focused, we're more productive, we're less stressed. We also make better decisions. That habit of deciding, do I donate, sell, discard, give away, whatever, those are little practices on decision making. And you think you're just, you know, making decisions on small things, but that holds your decision making ability and it prepares you for making better life decisions as well, bigger life decisions. It's also a form of self-care. Tidying and decluttering has great effects on our well-being. It helps us become more mindful, more grateful because you realize, oh my God, I have so many nice things. I've had a client where we took out 50% of her closet and she told me the next day, you know, before when I was opening my closet, I'd always think I have nothing to wear. But with 50% less and everything in my closet sparks joy, I feel like I have so many nice clothes. So imagine from 50% na lang natira in her closet, she feels that she has a lot of nice clothes. Whereas when she had twice the amount, she felt like she had nothing to wear because her closet was filled with stuff that she also didn't like. So having a closet where, you know, is filled with stuff that sparks joy for you, when you open it, it really feels good. And so contentment happens even with less things. Finally, yeah, you become more healthy, more purposeful. Sometimes people discover things that they used to enjoy when they were younger. So they find their purpose in in the process of decluttering. At the end of the day, overall, because you're happy with work, you're productive, and then you're happy inside, you become a happier person. So tidying isn't really just about clearing out our physical space, but also clearing within, finding happiness from within. So if you'd like to learn more about KonMari or about tidying and decluttering your home, or if you want to share your own, spark joy experiences and your adventures in tidying, you may follow me at sparkjoy.ph or join my support group on Facebook, Spark Joy Philippines. It's the venue for asking questions, sharing your own experiences, and really just having fun and celebrating tidying with like-minded folks. Remember, when you tidy your space, you transform your life. Thank you and happy tidying. And remember, your kids can tidy. So let's tidy.